Hey, beautiful souls, another day. It's been a bit of a strange day today. I don't know whether anybody else has felt it. It's been a bit of a strange day, really. I tried to come out and do a different type of video this afternoon, and I just couldn't get the words out. And the video it wasn't coming together at all. I tried about 4 times, and I even just tried to record this, and I realised I had the camera pointing in the wrong direction. So there you go. I think it's just one of those days today. So earlier on, I kind of thought I'm going to call it a day. Went back to the camp and now back to the park, and decided to have a bit of quiet time by myself in the sauna to kind of collect my thoughts for half an hour. So I just went in the sauna and then done a little bit of swimming with Dylan and Sam for an hour just to cool myself down after the sauna. And so I decided to come out and try it again. So let's see how we go. Let's see how we go this time round. So today's topic that I want to talk to you about is that you don't need permission to live life differently. You really don't. I think one thing that I've kind of really been noticing is that I think a lot of people wait for that kind of, you have to wait almost for that moment. Do you know what I mean? Waiting for that right moment to decide to jump and do something differently. Whether it is maybe starting a business, maybe it's going for that new job, maybe it's moving to another location, whatever it may be. I think a lot of people wait for that right time, and for maybe even someone to say, okay, it's okay. Or maybe you're sat there thinking, I really want to do it, but I need to wait until we've got more money. I need to wait until we've got more time. I need to wait until there's more certainty. Is this going to work? More certainty in the world, what the world is like at the moment. Waiting for that. But I think when you think about it, here's what we've learned. I mean, since we've been on this journey, you don't need permission to live life differently. And the thing is, you never have had to. It's you that decides what you want to do. I think the world is a place that teaches us to play it safe, to follow the path that's, been walked on, thousands of times. I think we're all kind of programmed now. I mean, this is what the school and the education system does, isn't it? I mean, to me, they're programming another cog in the ever churning wheel of life. It's to get the good job, buy the house, raise your family, get your kids in school, get them to do well in school, save for the holidays. The holidays are short. It's just one of those, save for a holiday. Well, you're spending maybe a week, 2 weeks if you're really lucky, just to have a break, have that bit of freedom, I think it's kind of, I don't know, there's that old rule. I can't exactly remember how it's pronounced now or how you say it, but it's a 40-40-40 rule. I think it's something like you work 40% of your life, 40 hours a week, 40% of your life to live on 40% of the money you've earned. Something like that. I can't remember. I'll have to re-look that up. But I've heard that for many years actually. 40-40-40 rule. I'll have to look it up and remember that. But I think something inside of us was just like, this isn't for us. We don't want to live life like that. As I've said before, I like to travel. I like my freedom. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being pinned down or attached to things, such as a house or whatever. I hate that. And, at first when we started on this journey, it was a little scary for Sam. I'm one of those people that I'll just give anything a go. I don't mind. I'm one of those that kind of will just pack up my bags and I'm gone. I don't really care. Um, I don't kind of, the future is going to be what it's going to be. It will either work out or it won't. And that is me. That's me all over. I've been like that pretty much my whole entire life, you know. And I think, sorry, I should move you over here because the sun's over that side again now. You know, it is scary. You know, not, and it's not because it's wrong, but because, you know, it's unfamiliar. It's an unfamiliar territory. You know, you're used to having that routine. You're used to, you know, getting the kids up, taking the kids to school. You're used to getting up for work, going to work, coming home from work, you know, maybe picking up the kids from school, having your tea, sitting down watching telly. You go to sleep, you get up, you do it over and over and over and over again, you know. And, you know, it is the voices in your head. And I kind of, I know the feeling, but you know, I kind of, Sam especially does, because this is Sam all over. So, you know, Sam will sit there and say, well, what if it don't work? What are we going to do if it doesn't work? You know, what will people think of us? You know, being this mad lunatic family that, you know, just goes off traveling, and, you know, we haven't got a base, or, well, we kind of technically have at the moment, but come the end of the year, we won't have the house to tie us down. You know, they haven't got no kind of safety net. As I said yesterday, you know, we haven't got no safety net. If anything goes wrong, where do we go? Well, we just move on to another house. And this is the point of, you know, how we live our lives. You know, what if you are to do something different, you know, away from the norm, away from, you know, something that's different? You know, people might look at you a little bit strange at first. It's only at first. And we've noticed this. You know, people have said to us, you're crazy. Going to stay in a stranger's house, you're nuts. But then the more we did it, and the more people looked at our journey, looked at the places where we were staying, you know, some of the amazing houses we've stayed in, some of the gorgeous places we've visited. Almost, it's sometimes it seems to us there's a little bit of jealousy slips in, because people are actually thinking now, oh, wow, what an amazing life they live. Well, you can actually live that life too. I'm going to switch it back over again. And you can actually live that life too, if you want to, you know. But for example, you know, if everybody's waiting for someone to give you that permission, you could wait forever and no one will give you that permission. You know, I'm in the forest again, as you know. You know, the forest doesn't ask for permission to grow, does it? You know, that tree didn't ask for permission to grow. That one over there didn't ask for permission to fall down. You know, the ferns don't ask for permission to grow. The ocean doesn't ask permission if it's okay to, you know, for the tide to come in or the tide to go out. You know, it doesn't have to be told when to move. You know, it's never, you know, the only person that can tell you it's time is you. You know, you'll be waiting forever for someone to tell you now's the right time. It's okay to do that. You know, you could be waiting absolutely forever. And, you know, living differently, it doesn't mean rejecting the world as it is. You know, I know we're getting rid of all of the systems that tie us, but that becomes natural when you do live a life like this, and when you understand how a life like this, you know, you don't need all those attachments, you don't need all those systems tying you down, you don't need all those, you know. So it's not about rejecting the world, it's about remembering who you are. You know, who you are, what you know, you are a being. You're not a controlled person. You know, even though life dictates to us that we need to be controlled, we need to be told what to do by the news, by our parents, by our teachers, by our bosses. We're told, you know, it's programmed in, we need to be told what to do, but we don't. It's only, you know, it's down to us. We have the right to choose what to do. You know, we don't need to be controlled. We're not slaves. Although a lot of society is programmed to think we are slaves for everybody else. You know, you're a slave to the system. You know, it's pretty crazy when you think how long we've been programmed and how we actually became to be programmed that way. When we're individual, free, sovereign human beings, and we've been trapped in this system of almost slavery. You know, it's just, to me it seems a bit crazy, and I think, it means remembering who we are as human beings. You know, um, it's we don't need to be told who we are by anybody. We tell ourselves who we are. We come out, I come out here in the forest to figure out who I am. You know, I ground myself. I'm connecting with the world, you know, coming out here grounding, reconnecting to myself, my higher self, figuring out who I am and where I'm going and what my purpose is, and that's one thing a lot of awakened people, I say awakened, but, a lot of people that are on this journey of, getting rid of the old systems, living life like this, taking their children out of school, going traveling, whether you're house or pet sitting like we are, or whether you are a true nomadic person and you're doing the van life, you're going over to home educational co-op living spaces that are all around the world now. It's whether you're doing things like that. It doesn't matter. Sorry, I might be making the arms are really tense because I've been swimming. My arms are a bit tired. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing or where you are, as long as you're doing it. And I think, there are so many people now choosing to live this life of freedom. It's not going to be long before, there are more and more and more people start to understand and go, hang on a minute, I'd love to be free. I'd love to live a life like that. And, there are people out here, this is why I'm doing the video series, to kind of show you the path, tell you the ins and outs of how things are and why we do things the way we do and how we do it, how we travel. With a family as well, especially, because we do get asked lots of times, how is it traveling with Dylan? Is it easy? Is it hard? And actually, it's really easy. And Dylan copes with it absolutely fantastic. He thrives in this environment. And a lot of home educators, world schoolers, nomadic families, they will all tell you the same. Their children or our children are absolutely thriving. It's choosing rhythm over routine, freedom over fear, presence over performance. We chose this life because we didn't choose it because it's perfect. We chose it because it's true. It's honest, and it's ours. It's ours to live this way. It's our choice to live this way. If you can understand the role of social media, the role of the mainstream media, the role of all of these systems that keep you trapped in this negative frequency of hate, of division, of scarcity, of lack. Once you understand that and you start to see that, it's easy to then start pulling away from those systems. It becomes increasingly easy to do that, and you start to see them more and more and more and more. And before you know it, you're not even fussed about them anymore, because you understand that you don't need to be tied to those. You don't need to be tied to anything if you don't want to be, and you certainly don't need permission. You've already got the permission. Yeah, you have to give permission to yourself. Just take that one step, whatever it looks like for you. It could be something small, it could be something big, but whatever it is, just take that step. We've never looked back. And if you ask any nomadic family or world schooler, home educator, anyone that's in the van life kind of community, if they've ever looked back, and I guarantee you not one single person will say, yes, we hate living like this. You're just not going to get it, because we all understand it. We're all free. And for some, you know, freedom is the only thing that they've ever wanted, but they're too scared to make that jump and decide to live to be free. They're still waiting for somebody to tell them it's okay. You can go and live a free life without all this constraint, without all this negativity, without being tied to the systems that are designed by nature to keep you locked down and in that vibration of scarcity and lack. And, you know, you've got no time, you've got to work all your life. You know, the retirement age keeps going up and up and up. You know, before you know it, you know, you're going to be working till you're 80, 90 years old, you know, on a fraction of what you've earned all over your lifetime, because you've spent your money. And then by the time you get that to the age of retirement, you're then using your money that you've earned or in your pension to then pay for maybe, you know, a kind of a hospice or a house, you know, that sort of thing. And you've got no money left and no life, because you've wasted all your life working and doing what society deems the norm thing to do. You know, you're not taking time for you. You're not taking time for your family. You know, you're not taking that time to live and be free. So that's today's topic, guys. Drop me some comments if you agree, if you're starting to see a shift of pattern in different people and different posts on your social media. You know, drop us a comment and a follow if you like what I'm talking about. You know, feedback's good. I like feedback, because it helps me choose what I want to talk about in future topics and things like that. But I'm hoping you're enjoying the series, guys. You know, any hints, tips, suggestions are more than welcome. I take everything on board. If you want to head over to the YouTube channel, give us a follow. That's absolutely fantastic. You can stay up to date and catch up on any of this series that you've not seen yet. But apart from that, guys, stay blessed. Have a fantastic evening. And love and light to you all. And I'll catch you all tomorrow for tomorrow's talk. Take care.